Welcome to Homecoming with the Downer Brothers. This is Anthony.
And this is Anton.
And we're here with a new episode. You know what? We're going to change it up. We're going to have Anton do the introduction.
Yes, we would like to introduce to you all a commercial realtor that we've gotten to know over the past couple of years. This is Alisha Harris.
You said it's so special.
Man, you so quiet over there.
I mean, I didn't know what to say. I was waiting for my introduction.
Well, we'll let you all know that we've had realtors on that specialize in residential, which is like single-family homes, multi-unit buildings. But this will be our first time having a realtor that specializes in commercial real estate.
Commercial real estate. So I guess a little bit later on we'll define what commercial real estate means. But this is Homecoming with the Downer Brothers. So the first question always is, where are you from? And when you were growing up, did you get any like real estate or business or financial literacy from your family and friends? Like, how did you even get into the game? So tell us where you're from and what you learned growing up.
I'm from Chicago, born and raised. I moved back in 2014 once I left school. Lived in South Shore. My family's lived here my whole life, so naturally I just gravitated right back toward it, and that's when the real estate thing kicked off. My family, we have one property, that's Grandma's house in South Shore. There was no financial literacy taught. Everything was from a book. But I've always just been thirsty. I've been hungry for knowledge. So everything I learned, I went out and got it.
Okay, so I actually kind of like when people say that they really didn't get a whole lot at home because when we have guests that come on that are successful at what they do, it kind of just proves that you can come from a limited background and still be successful
Absolutely.
in this world. And it's important for people to know that, and when they tune into this episode, that they hear that part of your story. So you're from Chicago, and you said South Shore.
South Shore.
And when we talk about commercial real estate in Chicago, especially on the South Side, South Shore has a lot of commercial real estate.
South Shore is hidden right now. It is 55% commercial property. By commercial property, I mean multi-units. That's anything 5 units and above. And then, of course, retail space, mixed use. So that would be retail mixed with residential.
Okay, so everyone out there listening right now, if you're trying to figure out what's commercial real estate mean, that means anything over 5 units, which also means that it's going to be different financing.
Yep.
When you're doing residential, you can use an FHA loan and pay 3.5% down. You can even do like a conventional loan and do 5% down. But when we're talking about commercial real estate, you can't do 3.5% down or 5% down. You actually have to put 20% down. It's a little bit different. You got to have a little bit more money. You might have to have a little bit more resources.
Or some more partners.
I mean, there's always different ways to skin it. Right, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about the type of deals you've seen across along the way. So, let's see. You know what? No, let's jump into that right now. What was your first deal?
My first commercial deal was a laundromat.
Okay.
It was in the Washington Park area, and that was before I figured out this was my niche. Like, this is what I wanted to go after. The laundromat had been in the family for a little while, but it was the easiest deal. But I was kind of just taking things as they came along, which was like multi-units after that. So the laundromat sold for $65, I want to say, but there were no appliances or anything included. So far, the largest one has been $450,000. That one was in South Shore. It's a 6-unit building. The 7th unit was a non-conforming unit. And it sold really fast. I have quite a few I have quite a few properties. And how it works is I like to push them off market first. So it's mostly word of mouth. You give them that off market price. By the time you list it, it's already under contract, or you already have a buyer, or you have all these people who are interested now. So that's kind of just building into the value of why you have to know me.
Okay.
But it's mostly South Shore.
Mostly South Shore.
South Shore, I want to say it's just kind of like what happened in Bronzeville, and then it branched over to Woodline. South Shore is next because these people need somewhere affordable to live.
Right.
So.
We believe in South Shore. South Shore is our target area, and we own a multi-unit building in South Shore, so we know what's going on.
It's just short of commercial, though. It's a 4-unit building.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know what? what's the most creative way, or when we talk about like partners and things of that nature from your clients, what was the most creative way that you saw some people come together to buy a commercial building?
I've seen families do it. I would say that's probably the biggest way, but I'm not a fan of getting into business with family. Those are probably I applaud you guys, but those are probably the more complicated deals because you have mom, dad, daughter, son, and cousin all coming out, and they have to agree on everything. But nobody agrees on a single thing. So the partnerships that I like to see are the people who are passing down the wealth to someone who they know is going to take care of it, who's going to care for it, and that's usually when the deals come into play. There was one woman, I worked with her, and her story just kind of motivated me. I was like, oh, this is what I need to be at. This is what I need to do. And she got the building from a contractor who she knew. He ended up being like a mentor for her. And he sold it to her for almost nothing. Just kind of on good faith. And she kept the building for 20 years. Ended up, she got it for like $25,000, 6-unit building. He was just like, I want to get rid of it. She didn't do any inspections or anything. She's had long-term tenants. She had a 12% cap rate. So, cap rate.
She got a 6-unit building for $25,000?
What was wrong with the building? There had to be something wrong with this
So
building.
he basically gave it away.
He gave it away. He gave it away. And so when you say partnerships, of course the money and everybody has to agree. But I see a lot of this in our community. People passing it along. So when I go and I'm looking for commercial properties to sell, you got to think about those things because they're not just dollar amounts to them anymore. They want to know who they're selling it to, if they're going to take care of the building. Is this somebody who's going to be a slumlord? How are you bringing in, how are you adding value to the community?
And that's when you're transformational rather than transactional.
Exactly.
And we're all about that here with the Downer
Exactly.
Brothers. So, so I like deals like that. So if you come across a deal like that, you let the Downer Brothers know. Because we'll bring you that cash.
That motivated me. I was thinking this is somebody I should follow up with every holiday. How are you doing?
That's right. I mean, you know what? I mean, everything is relationships. And when you and basically what you described so far, your success is built on relationships and it's built on referrals and it's built on word of mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So these things, like if you're listening right now, you have to get out there and develop those relationships and so that you can get the deals that you're looking for.
Absolutely. I mean, when he gave her that building, though, she had a young daughter. She was in school. Now she is a psychiatrist. She's managed, she lived in the building. She rented out the other units. It brought in income. So he invested in her future. You see, so it's like we don't get a lot of that. We expect our parents to kind of give it around to us, but it's not always that case. But I would say, if somebody's looking to invest in commercial real estate, the first thing you have to think about is the cap rate. So in order to figure out what your cap rate is, you need to know what's your gross profit. What's the gross income? So you're going to take your gross income, so you need to see what their profit loss sheet is. Take that gross income, subtract the expenses. Now you have your net operating income. And you want to divide that by the market value. That's going to give you your cap rate. And that's going to be your selling point. Because commercial real estate, it's all logic. No one's going to walk in there and say, oh my God, I love the aesthetics in this place.
Right.
It just doesn't work. The lighting is so great. How much is this going to rent for?
Right, it's the
How
numbers.
much are you paying for utilities?
Right.
You got to need liens on the property. You know
Right.
what I mean? You need to know those things.
Right. And then we're looking for that cash flow. At the end,
And you want to know
that
how
cap
much are
rate
you
is
making.
basically equal to your cash flow or is
Absolutely.
equivalent to your cash flow.
So if you're going to buy a $400,000 building and you're putting 20% down, okay, so now you got $80,000 down. But what if it's bringing you $80 a year?
Right.
I think that's beautiful.
Oh, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could quit your job. Don't quit your job. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but you're on your way.
For all y'all listening, don't quit your job right this minute.
Yeah, just make sure you secure multiple bags, okay?
Just give it a couple of years.
That's right. That's right. So, you know what? I'm going to take this time. Since we're talking about commercial real estate, we're going to go to our segment called Homecoming Events. And with this homecoming event, I had to find a commercial real estate deal right here in Chicago. So, there are apartments planned next to the CTA station in Bronzeville at 43rd Street. The 91 unit project will bring new life to 43rd Street and hopefully increase ridership and business growth around the L station, says the Third Ward Alderman Pat Dow. A Chicago development team plans a 91-unit, $27 million apartment project with room for 3 to 5 retailers at the CTA Green Line's 43rd Street stop in Bronzeville, using long vacant city-owned lots and some tax credits. The startup P3 Markets is partnering with Habitat's Affordable Housing Management and Community Development arm to build the 43 Green project, which will target young professionals who don't own cars. So that sounds like, I mean, first of all, by definition, that's a big commercial deal, or a big commercial project that's being built, and it's being built right on the south side of Chicago in Bronzeville, and that's actually where one of my favorite real estate transactions took place, right there in Bronzeville. I love Bronzeville.
Yeah. We all love Bronzeville.
and for you all that are not from Chicago, Bronzeville is a historic neighborhood for African Americans. Back in the redlining days when you had to live in Bronzeville if you were black.
That's right. Our grandparents moved from Mississippi and they moved right into what we now call Bronzeville. And so for some other people, maybe who lived there 20, 30 years ago, the low end. So anyway, it's great to see that type of investment coming into neighborhoods that are outside of the loop, because we know for the last 20, 30 years, most of the investment has been going into the downtown areas of Chicago, but now we see it in a residential area.
I like to hear about that type of investment that does not involve the University of Chicago expanding.
Oh, okay.
Because you'll notice that a lot in that area, right up until you get to the Kenwood, Oakland, Hyde Park, even parts of South Shore, a lot of people don't know that the University of Chicago owns majority of that land and it's been leased out.
Right.
So when I hear about a 91 unit development and it has nothing to do with the University of Chicago, it's like, whoo, we are coming back.
Okay. True. We don't want anybody to monopolize anything.
No.
Yeah. So, all right. So what are we moving into next?
All right. And the definition of the day today is a commercial real estate. Now, commercial real estate is property used solely for business purposes. It can have residential units as part of it, and it is usually divided into 4 classes. That would be office, industrial, multifamily, and retail. Commercial real estate provides income as well as some capital appreciation for investors.
Commercial real estate. All right, so commercial real estate, when we talk about scaling, I think for people who consider themselves to be developers, I mean, you can develop your business and stay in residential. You can if you want to, but it definitely is the hopes and dreams of the Downing brothers to scale from residential into commercial, because when we're talking about trying to build generational wealth and trying to build the type of capital where you can retire your family or retire your mom, you know what I'm saying? The things that we see that dreams are made of and you see in movies, commercial real estate is where it's at, because that's the long game. And that means that you've brought together multiple partners and multiple financial institutions in order to get to the point where you can do big commercial deals. And when I say big commercial deals, I'm talking about 30, 40, 50 units with retail. Mm-hmm. And so, do your research and don't think that you can't do it, because average, everyday people are bringing together the teams and the systems necessary in order to get into commercial real estate. So go for your dream.
Man, you covered it so well. I mean, I think the only thing that I would add is that a lot of times, when we talk about systems, it can be starting with residential, like a 3-unit, 4-unit building, and once you've bought a couple of those, and you've started to build your capital, then you can move into commercial. And commercial, I'm talking about 6-unit, 8-unit, 10-unit buildings, and then level up from there. We don't want to push this whole idea that people hit home runs or by some miracle on 50-unit buildings. A lot of times it's a build-up over years.
Right. I mean, it may take 20 or 30 years, but what about your clients? Like, have you heard any backstories from your clients about how they got to the commercial side?
Honestly, I don't have anybody. I'm usually on the listing side. I have not sold anybody a commercial property that started with residential.
So where did they?
So the youngest person I've sold one to, she was my age. We actually, I'm not gonna tell you my age.
Oh my God,
She was your age.
You're younger than us. We can say that.
Hey, let's just say she's about 30.
Okay. All right. About.
She's about 30, and she saved up. So she graduated school, and she's been saving. She lived with her parents, and so she was able to take, and she didn't have any kids yet, so she was able to take a large portion of her income, and she saved up for 4 years just to reinvest in the neighborhood we grew up in, being South Shore. So she was able to get a 6-unit building.
6 unit for her first property.
For her
ever.
first property, and now we're shopping for another one.
Man, it's all about goals.
It's about goals. And then there was the millennials are taking over. I just want to go ahead and say, but there was another one. Him and a partner of his, which was also his realtor. They were shopping for 6-unit buildings.
Okay.
Young gentlemen, they had to be between 30 and 34.
Okay.
And just ready to put 100 down. So this was obviously for a much larger property.
Right.
But they were in a position to do so. Never even purchased any income property before, but they've saved up. And once you put that goal in your head, and then you, of course, come across a great investment opportunity, you move.
All right, so let's talk some numbers, because we always want to, like, you know, we want them to actually say, okay, this is an example. So if we have 100,000 in cash, what type of properties are we looking at? And we'll go ahead and use South Shore, because we've been talking about South Shore on the south side of Chicago. For those of you who are listening that aren't from Chicago. If I have 100,000 in cash, what size property and how much does that property cost, and how much do I have to put down, and what is that 100,000 buying power give me?
If you have 100,000 in cash, you're probably looking at about $500,000 property.
Okay.
Okay, $500,000. It depends on which part of South Shore you want to invest in.
Close to the lake, go further away from it.
You want to be a little further south, or you want to go further north.
Okay.
Because you know South Shore just lines up along the lake anyway.
Right.
So if you're looking between 70, I'll say 74th. You could go as far as 73rd, but if you're looking between 73rd to 79th, then you can hit that range. And then there are some rare cases along the 68th, 69th to 70th, right by Jackson Park.
Where the Obama Center is soon to be built.
Where you can come across a great deal. But those are the properties that need some work.
Right. So now when you say, $500,000, 500,000, what size building? How many units?
Anywhere from 6 to 13.
6 to 13 units, $500,000. You come with 100,000 in cash, which is 20% down.
Yep.
Right. I mean, sounds like it's pretty straightforward. It's just, have you built up the capital?
That's legit it. So I would say if people are looking to get started in commercial real estate, know a great realtor, because anybody can do it. A residential,
you mean like you?
Oh, I know. Alisha Harris. No, I would say just know a great realtor, because it comes down to your resources. You have to be able to solve problems. You got to solve them fast. And you need to know what's not on the market. Anybody can pick up Zillow. Anybody can go to Trulia or LoopNet and figure out what properties are on the market. You want off-market deals.
That's what we want.
That's where you're shopping.
Because you know you're our friend, right?
I know. Shop off-market deals. I have a few of them in mind right now, and they're in the better parts of South Shore by Jackson Park.
I'm listening.
But we can talk about that later.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
6 units and 2 non-conforming units and 1 of the one. Okay, but we'll talk about that later.
All right.
So think about that, and then you also want to make sure that you have a lender, not just any lender, but you want a creative lender.
Okay, yeah. Okay. All right, cool. We'll leave it at that. We're
Yeah.
not giving free advertising. We're not giving free advertising.
Right.
And we always want to let everyone know that we love guaranteed rate. Okay. But all right, so we have a part in our show, a segment in our show where we talk about your dream, plan, execute moment. And what we mean by dream, plan, execute moment, something that you dreamed about doing within your career, how you set up your plan and did your research, and how you executed that. Is there any particular deal or project or something that you did that you can give us?
Or even getting into your profession as a realtor?
Honestly, before, I always knew I wanted to work for myself, by myself, and I knew I wanted to do real estate. I just didn't know exactly what to do to get there. So I would say it started about 5 years ago. I pulled up my credit report, and I had $56,000 worth of debt.
Okay.
And then 3 years later, it was 18,000. So
Like you was working.
I was working, but I mean, I've always done pretty well for myself. But I was working, but I also made sure I lived within my means so that I can take a large chunk of my income and put it toward my debt.
Okay.
So when I decided to leave my 9 to 5, my expenses were not that high anymore. It was just a good $1,200, $1,300 a month. That's something that you can afford, so that you can chase a dream. Just makes everything a little easier.
And then you made your transition into.
And then I just made it work.
Becoming a commercial
No excuses.
realtor.
You just do it. That's it. You just make it happen.
You just made Chicago sound so affordable compared to like New York,
She's
or
like,
LA and whatnot.
Where does
For
she live?
$1,300, where did you do that at?
Well, I mean, again, I'm in real estate, so I do find good deals. You could
Okay.
Okay, all
right.
So you could
True.
live somewhere affordably, but you also have to just know what your budget is. What are you willing to cut back on? I mean, I own my car.
Right.
I started those 3 years. You knew me then. I was living in somewhat the hood, paying $700 a month for rent, and everybody's like, "You need to get out of here."
Okay.
I don't want to come over there, but it fit my lifestyle at the time. I was trying to pay off my debt, so it's those sacrifices.
Man, that's awesome. So, I got a question for you. We have to ask everybody this. When you hear the term homecoming, what does it mean to you?
You know, the first thing I think about homecoming when I hear homecoming is Kanye West. That homecoming track. But I think about a comeback. I think about returning home, like the culture, coming back to my roots. That's what's sparking in my mind right now.
Cool. So, all right. So, as far as like, you know, we all care about the city, and sometimes we have different causes that, you know, you may donate to, not-for-profits that you support and things of that nature. Do any come to mind as far as I mean, any at all?
My favorite, and I'm super interested in this one because I told you my heart is in South Shore.
Okay.
It's called Rebuild Foundation.
Okay.
I believe the website is rebuild-foundation.org.
Okay.
Founded by renowned artist, and he also sits on the board at the University of Chicago, Theaster Gates.
Right.
He started a movement in South Shore years ago. He even has a TED Talk about how him and his father got started. But he basically takes these buildings, even a school building, just houses that people have wants to throw away. And he repurposes them.
Right.
So you'll notice, and it's only in South Shore, you'll notice that every once in a while, some Sundays, you see some people who don't look like they're from there.
Right. Uh-huh.
And they're walking in, and you kind of think like, well, I wonder what's going on in there. And it's just bringing different energy, making this neighborhood come alive.
Yeah, I like what he did with the bank.
Yeah, Stony
Yeah.
Island Arts
Stony
Bank.
Island.
Yeah,
Have you been in there?
several times.
Oh, love that place.
Yeah, because they have movie nights in there. They have art gallery installations.
They have like a documentary series that's planned right now. I think the next one is at the end of the month. But I would definitely recommend just either donating your time. There's some townhomes that he built. It's called it's in the Dorchester cluster.
Right.
So I want to say it's the Arts Collab, the Dorchester Arts Collab, something like that.
Which you can find at the website.
You can find
Is that
on the
like
website.
69th in Dorchester?
Yep. 69. So they have events throughout the week, and it's all free, and it's for the neighborhood. So you can easily go and sit in on a yoga class, meditation, African dance. They even have neighborhood meetings in there, and I think it's dope.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you brought that highlight because, well, you know, we talk about homecoming. We want to support our hometowns. I mean, we have guests that come on that are from other cities like Boston and New York and LA and New Orleans or whatever.
Houston.
In Houston. So, you know, but we want people to talk about their hometowns and how we can make our homes better. So, thank you for coming on.
Always a pleasure.
You know
Absolutely.
what? Where can people find you if they want to learn more about your business and they want to buy some commercial property?
You can follow me on Instagram at Lisha, Lisha Harris, or you can follow me on Facebook, Alisha Harris.
Awesome. You guys, get that information. If you're looking for commercial property, look
I'm
her
your
up,
girl.
please. That's right.
Yeah, I imagine you'll work with them too if they're just looking for a house too.
Absolutely. It just depends on their realistic expectations.
Let's all be realistic in our commercial real estate dreams.
Keep it real with yourself.
All right, so that's been another episode of Homecoming with the Downing Brothers. Tune in, and you can catch us at thedowningbrothers.com and on Instagram at thedowningbrothers. Talk to you guys later.